You're uninvited, per your family's request. That's the first thing Charlotte Hayes hears when she picks up the phone. The voice belongs to a wedding planner, syrupy sweet but sharp underneath, as if she's savoring the cruelty. Charlotte blinks, the phone pressed to her ear. Her little sister Olivia is getting married in 2 months, the grand event the whole family has been buzzing about for a year, and now Charlotte has been erased from the guest list like she never existed. Her heart pounds. The planner repeats it slowly, almost gleefully. Your family decided it would be less awkward if you didn't attend. Less awkward. Those 2 words twist in Charlotte's chest like a knife. Memories flash, her parents calling her a dreamer, her brother mocking her failed little projects, the way Olivia once laughed at her, saying Charlotte would never measure up. Charlotte should feel devastated. She should cry or beg or rage. But instead, something unexpected bubbles up inside her. Laughter. Low at first, then louder, startling the planner on the other end of the line. Because the wedding? The wedding is booked at Rosewood Manor, and Rosewood Manor belongs to Charlotte. She bought it quietly through her company 6 months ago. Nobody in her family knows. To them, she's still the loser sibling. To the city's elite, though, Charlotte Hayes is the visionary behind Hayes Holdings, an empire growing so fast it has begun swallowing up the very world her family once shut her out of. So Charlotte doesn't beg. She doesn't even defend herself. She simply says with a smile in her voice, "That's funny, because I own Rosewood Manor, and Olivia's wedding doesn't happen there without me." The silence on the other end is electric. The planner stammers, clearly blindsided. Charlotte hangs up before she can recover. Her pulse is racing now, not from pain but from anticipation. For the first time, she feels the balance of power tilt. They wanted to humiliate her, but they just handed her the perfect chance to turn the tables. And Charlotte Hayes? She's done being underestimated. If you're hooked already, drop a comment below and tell me what you'd do in Charlotte's place. Don't forget to hit subscribe and like this video, because trust me, this story is just getting started, and you won't want to miss what comes next. Charlotte doesn't storm into her parents' house or call Olivia to confront her. That's what they'd expect, the desperate, emotional Charlotte they've always dismissed. No. This time, she plays it smart. Her first move? The wedding planner. Charlotte knows people like her sister, obsessed with appearances, controlling every tiny detail, terrified of looking foolish in front of her friends. And planners? They're the gatekeepers of those perfect images. If the gatekeeper starts to sweat, Olivia will feel it instantly. So Charlotte arranges a meeting at Rosewood Manor. She arrives early, heels clicking across the polished marble floor she now owns, the chandeliers glinting above like 1,000 knowing eyes. She waits in the grand hall, sipping her coffee slowly, savoring the irony. When the planner arrives, she nearly trips over herself. "Ms. Hayes, I didn't realize..." Charlotte cuts her off with a calm smile. "You didn't ask." She sets her coffee down deliberately, every motion precise. "But now you know, this is my property, and Olivia's event is at my mercy." The planner swallows hard, torn between panic and professionalism. Charlotte leans closer, lowering her voice just enough to make the words sting. "You'll keep that little phone call between us, for now, but from this point forward, I'll be reviewing every single arrangement for this wedding, understood?" The planner nods, a nervous flush rising to her cheeks. Charlotte can practically hear Olivia's shrill voice already, demanding to know why her planner looks rattled, why she's hesitating. And that's the beauty of it. Charlotte doesn't need to expose the truth yet. All she has to do is plant doubt. A tiny crack in Olivia's carefully curated fantasy. One seed of paranoia. By the time the planner leaves, Charlotte feels lighter, sharper, like a chess player moving her first pawn. She's not rushing, she's savoring. Her family thinks they disinvited her. But Charlotte? She's about to become the most important guest of all. Olivia prided herself on perfection, the kind of woman who color-coded her calendar, double-checked seating charts, and sent follow-up emails to confirm follow-up emails. For her, this wedding wasn't just about love, it was about status. The family, the guests, the whispers of admiration, all of it had to scream success. So when her planner walked in looking rattled, hands fidgeting with her tablet, Olivia's smile froze. "What's wrong?" she asked, her tone sugary but sharp enough to cut glass. Nothing, Ms. Hayes," the planner stammered. "Just a lot on my plate, that's all." Olivia's eyes narrowed. She hated vagueness. It reeked of incompetence. But before she could dig deeper, the caterer called with a small issue about the menu. Then the florist emailed, saying certain arrangements weren't approved yet. Approved? Olivia had already approved them. By the end of the day, she was pacing her living room, heels clicking against the hardwood, her phone buzzing nonstop with questions she shouldn't be getting. Her perfect machine was sputtering. And deep down, she felt it. Someone was messing with her. She snapped at her fiancé, who asked an innocent question about invitations. She barked at her mother for suggesting a simpler centerpiece. Everyone around her became a suspect, but she didn't even think of Charlotte. Not yet. To her, Charlotte was irrelevant, the forgotten sister, the one she'd disinvited without a second thought. Still, unease gnawed at her. She stayed up late, double-checking contracts, rereading vendor emails, scribbling notes in the margins like she could will the chaos back into order. But chaos had already found its way in. And somewhere across town, Charlotte sat on her balcony, sipping wine, phone in hand. Every new complaint from the planner, every tiny delay was a symphony to her ears. She didn't need to reveal her power. Not yet. She just had to let Olivia spiral. Because perfectionists don't crumble all at once. They unravel thread by thread, and Charlotte had just pulled the first one loose. Olivia sat at the head of the rehearsal dinner table like a queen surveying her kingdom. Everything looked perfect. Glasses polished, napkins folded into crisp triangles, guests smiling politely. But beneath her polished exterior, her stomach churned. She noticed her planner whispering to the caterer, her brows furrowed like something wasn't right. When Olivia asked, they brushed it off with a too quick, all under control. But Olivia wasn't buying it. Later that evening, her fiancé leaned over, trying to reassure her. "Babe, relax. You've done an amazing job. People are already saying it's the most organized wedding they've ever seen." But Olivia's mind snagged on the word already. Already? Who was people? What exactly were they saying? Were there rumors floating behind her back that she wasn't in control? Her mother didn't help either. With a gentle hand on her arm, she said softly, "Maybe you don't have to do everything, Olivia. Maybe delegate a little." Delegate? That was code for you're slipping. Olivia excused herself, locking herself in the bathroom where she stared at her reflection. Lipstick perfect, but eyes wild. Something was wrong. Something or someone was tampering with her big moment. She replayed every conversation, every delay, every strange look. And then, out of nowhere, her sister's face flashed in her mind. Charlotte. She shook her head instantly. No. Charlotte was irrelevant. Charlotte was weak, pitiful, always on the sidelines. There was no way she could have a hand in this. And yet, as Olivia returned to the table, her planner's phone buzzed on the chair. Olivia caught a glimpse of a message before it was quickly swiped away. One word burned into her brain. Charlotte. Her pulse spiked. Her wine glass trembled slightly in her hand. Maybe she'd underestimated her little sister after all. But if Charlotte thought she could play games with Olivia Hayes, she had another thing coming. Olivia forced a smile across her face, raised her glass for a toast, and vowed silently, "I'll find out exactly what you're doing, Charlotte. And when I do, I'll crush you." The wedding morning was supposed to be flawless. Olivia had planned every second down to the color of the ribbons tying the programs. But the first sign of trouble came with the flowers. Instead of the pure white roses Olivia had ordered, bouquets with hints of blush pink arrived. To anyone else, they looked stunning. Delicate, romantic, magazine-worthy. But Olivia's eyes narrowed, her jaw tightening. "Pink?" she hissed at the florist. "Pink?" I said white. White is sophistication. Pink is childish. The florist stammered, insisting the order had been double-checked. Olivia's planner rushed to smooth things over, but not before guests nearby caught Olivia snapping, her voice sharp enough to slice glass. Charlotte, standing off to the side, sipped her coffee and watched quietly. The bouquets had been arranged to almost match Olivia's order, but with just enough variation to feel wrong. the perfect seed of doubt. Next came the seating chart. Somehow, mysteriously, 2 names had been switched, placing a family friend Olivia wanted near the front at a back table. When Olivia noticed, her face flushed crimson. She stormed across the room, demanding answers, her perfect composure cracking in full view of the bridesmaids. The whispers started. Why is she freaking out? It's just a table. She's losing it. Charlotte didn't need to say a word. She just let Olivia's own obsession and ego do the heavy lifting. By the time the photographer arrived, Olivia was barking orders, her laugh brittle and her smile plastered on. Her fiancé leaned in, whispering, "Liv, please, people are noticing." But Olivia jerked away, muttering under her breath, "They should notice. This is my wedding, my moment." Charlotte, meanwhile, offered a gentle hand to a stressed bridesmaid, a calm smile to a nervous usher. Every gesture painted her as the calm, collected sister, while Olivia looked like a storm about to swallow the room. The irony? Charlotte hadn't even played her full hand yet. These were just nudges, small disruptions that looked like bad luck. But the real twist, the one that would shatter Olivia's illusion of control, was still waiting in the shadows. And Charlotte knew when to strike, at the exact moment Olivia thought she had regained control. The ballroom shimmered under crystal chandeliers, every detail screaming luxury. Guests arrived in gowns and tailored suits, cameras flashing as they entered. Olivia, draped in her designer gown, floated through the crowd like a queen surveying her kingdom. For a moment, she believed she'd pulled it back together. The flowers? Blamed on the florist. The seating chart? A printing error. She had smoothed it over with tight smiles and sharper lies. To the untrained eye, the night was perfect again. But Charlotte knew better, and she had been waiting for this moment. The toast. Olivia had rehearsed her speech for weeks. This was her chance to flaunt her success, to stand in the spotlight and remind everyone she was the flawless daughter, the one who carried the family name with pride. The band quieted. Glasses clinked. Olivia tapped her champagne flute, flashing her practiced smile. Thank you all for being here to celebrate not only love but family. Tonight is proof of what we can accomplish when we come together. It was polished, rehearsed, even charming. Heads nodded, cameras flashed. But halfway through her speech, a sharp buzz interrupted. Then another. Then dozens. Guests began pulling out their phones, whispers rippling across the room like wind through dry leaves. Confused faces turned toward one another. Olivia froze. Is something wrong? Her fiancé leaned toward her, his phone in hand, his face drained of color. "Liv," he whispered, showing her the screen. There it was. An online article. Front page, breaking news. Charlotte's nonprofit awarded national recognition. Forbes highlights her as one of the top young leaders in philanthropy. Her name, her picture, her story. Not Olivia. Not the golden child. Charlotte. The timing couldn't have been more brutal. The headline had dropped right as Olivia was claiming the spotlight, and now every eye in the room wasn't on her speech. They were on their phones, murmuring Charlotte's name. Someone even clapped, soft at first, then louder, raising a glass in Charlotte's direction. Others followed. The ripple of applause grew, drowning Olivia's words entirely. Olivia stood frozen, her champagne glass trembling in her hand. For the first time in her life, she wasn't the story. Charlotte didn't gloat. She didn't need to. She just offered a small, gracious smile, the picture of humility, as though she hadn't orchestrated this exact moment down to the second. And Olivia? She forced a laugh that cracked in the middle, like glass under pressure. The queen had slipped, but Charlotte knew this was only the beginning. Olivia wasn't going to let this go quietly. She never did. And the tighter she tried to grip her crown, the faster it would crumble. Olivia thought she was finally ready to fight back. For weeks, she had been cornered, manipulated, and quietly humiliated. But something inside her snapped. She decided she wouldn't just stand there and let Vanessa win. Her first move was small, almost timid. She began correcting Vanessa in meetings. Not loudly, not aggressively, but just enough to remind everyone she knew the facts. And for a brief moment, it worked. A few colleagues noticed. Amelia noticed. Olivia felt a flicker of power return. But Vanessa didn't explode. She didn't lash out. Instead, she smiled. That perfect, terrifying smile. And that S when Olivia realized. Every counterattack she launched was being folded back into Vanessa's web. Emails Olivia sent mysteriously got lost. Messages she left went unanswered, yet Vanessa somehow knew about them, using the information to twist the narrative. When Olivia stayed late to finish a project, the next morning Vanessa casually mentioned she had fixed some of Olivia's mistakes, presenting herself as the savior once again. The harder Olivia tried to step forward, the deeper the quicksand pulled her down. Every assertive word was painted as aggression. Every correction was spun into pettiness. And little by little, the very people she was trying to win back began to doubt her. It was a slow suffocation. Olivia could feel the walls closing in. Vanessa had mastered the art of subtle sabotage, and Olivia, she was playing right into it. But what Vanessa didn't realize was that Olivia wasn't just stumbling blindly anymore. She was starting to see the patterns, the cracks in the facade. The way Vanessa overplayed her hand just enough when she thought no one was looking. Olivia was being pushed into a corner, but corners can be dangerous places, because from there's only one direction left to strike. And for the first time, Olivia began to wonder, maybe losing ground now was exactly what she needed to set the stage for the comeback. Olivia stopped fighting in the open. She realized the more she swung at Vanessa head-on, the deeper she sank. So she did something Vanessa never expected. She went quiet. On the surface, she looked defeated. She stopped correcting Vanessa in meetings. She stopped sending late-night emails. She even began nodding along when Vanessa guided her work, playing the role of the compliant smaller sister. And Vanessa loved it. She mistook Olivia's silence for surrender. The smugness in her voice grew sharper, her condescension bolder. But what Vanessa didn't see was that Olivia wasn't retreating. She was observing every comment, every manipulation, every twisted word. Olivia began documenting. She kept careful notes, screenshots, time-stamped emails. She didn't announce it. She didn't let her frustration show. She simply smiled faintly, letting Vanessa think she had won. But behind that calm smile, Olivia was building something. A narrative Vanessa couldn't control. Evidence too detailed to deny. A trap that required patience, timing, and precision. And while Vanessa basked in her false victory, Olivia began to plant seeds. Small, deliberate conversations with people Vanessa underestimated. Subtle questions that highlighted inconsistencies in Vanessa's perfect story. She wasn't accusing, just letting others start to wonder. The power shift was invisible at first, but like a fault line beneath the earth, pressure was building. Vanessa thought she had buried Olivia for good, but in reality, Olivia was carving her way out. This wasn't about winning the next meeting. This was about ending the war. And for the first time, Olivia wasn't scared of Vanessa anymore. She was calm, calculated, because she knew something Vanessa didn't. When the trap finally snapped shut, it wouldn't just sting. It would shatter everything Vanessa built. The conference room was buzzing with low chatter when Olivia walked in, her notebook in hand, her expression unreadable. Vanessa was already seated at the head of the table, radiating confidence. She had no idea this would be the day everything collapsed. The meeting started as usual, Vanessa dominating the room, her voice sharp, her eyes cutting Olivia down with subtle jabs. Every word dripped with superiority. She thought she was untouchable. Then Olivia spoke. Calm, precise, too calm. She began by referencing a project Vanessa had claimed as her own. She asked simple questions, softly, almost innocently. But each question was lined with evidence, time-stamped emails, reports with Olivia's name on them. Memos Vanessa had forgotten existed. The room grew still. Colleagues leaned forward. Vanessa's smile faltered. And then, Olivia pulled the pin. A single document projected on the screen, a side-by-side comparison of Vanessa's leadership summary, and Olivia's original work, dated weeks earlier. Every word, every graph, copied almost verbatim. Gasps cut through the silence. Vanessa's face drained of color. She stammered, tried to twist the narrative, but Olivia didn't flinch. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She simply presented fact after fact, letting the evidence choke Vanessa's excuses. What hurt Vanessa most wasn't the evidence itself. It was the room. Their faces. The colleagues who once nodded along to her every word now stared at her like a stranger. The trust she thrived on was gone. Olivia's final words weren't loud, but they echoed. This isn't about me or her, it's about truth. And truth has a way of surfacing, no matter how deeply someone tries to bury it. Silence. And then, as if on cue, leadership quietly thanked Olivia for her transparency and turned to Vanessa with questions she couldn't answer. The trap had sprung. The predator was caught. And Olivia, once the prey, sat steady, calm, and untouchable. When the meeting ended, Vanessa remained frozen in her chair, a shell of the woman who had once controlled every room with a smirk and a snide remark. Papers lay scattered on the table in front of her, but she couldn't piece together an explanation. The mask had cracked, and there was no putting it back. Olivia didn't stay to watch her unravel. She didn't need to. For years, Vanessa had chipped away at her confidence, feeding on every stumble, every doubt. But now? Olivia felt lighter, as though a weight she hadn't even realized she carried had been lifted. Walking through the glass doors of the office, the afternoon sun hit her face. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't shrinking into herself. She stood taller. The air was different, crisp and freeing, as though life itself was rewarding her for not breaking under the pressure. Her phone buzzed. Messages poured in. Congratulations from coworkers. Quiet thank yous from those who'd suffered under Vanessa's manipulation too. Olivia didn't reply right away. She just let it sink in. She wasn't invisible anymore. She wasn't the loser Vanessa had painted her to be. She was the one who had quietly turned the tables. And perhaps the sweetest part? Olivia hadn't screamed, hadn't begged, hadn't lowered herself to Vanessa's level. She had let the truth speak for itself, and that truth had been sharper than any weapon. As she walked away from the building, a faint smile played across her lips. This wasn't just revenge, it was justice. And justice, when earned, doesn't just tear someone else down, it builds you back up. So the next time someone tries to bury you in lies or paint you as the villain, remember Olivia. Sometimes the best revenge isn't fire or fury, it's patience, precision, and the unshakable belief that eventually, the truth always wins. Now let me ask you, have you ever witnessed someone get the perfect payback they deserved? Share your story in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more stories like this, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. Because trust me, this isn't the last time justice will find its way to the surface.